Ladies and gentlemen, it is I, Dread of Bread. I'm going to do a little stream tonight. We're going to be going over a really bad Palworld article. I'll just hop on over here. I wanted to get this archived, but I don't know how to do archive stuff. So unfortunately, I have to read this from the site. Before we hop into the article though, it is a very bad article. Just kind of want to poke fun at it and show how article people, game journalists, really don't know what they're talking about anymore. But before we do that, I do have a big project planned. Right now I'm taking a bunch of notes and everything. I'm super excited for it. I'm going to be recording it and probably streaming it at the same time, but I'll probably go with the recorded version. In short, if you're interested, a YouTuber a long time ago had a Kickstarter, and the Kickstarter didn't go so well, and he just kind of disappeared. I mean, people are getting their books, but left a lot of bad tastes in people's mouths, and nobody's seen him for a really long time. So, but anyway, let's get into it. This is Palworld, 7 pals that are not worth the effort of catching. Not all pals in Palworld are worth the effort of catching. Here are some of the most notable ones that you should avoid. This was written by Henry. Henry here, if you click on his information, he is 20 years old, but he has 3 years of copywriting experience, which is not the same as copyright, which is confusing. Because when I first read that, I was like, okay, so the guy knows his stuff about protecting people's IPs and things. No, a copywriter, which is not the same as copyright or copywriting, I guess. It should be copy space writing is what he does. Is basically, he makes clickbait, pretty much. So he doesn't have the experience or anything like that to be a copywriter, just to protect someone's like IP and their trademarks and everything like that. You need the 4 years minimum of college, a bachelor's degree specializing in, what was it, business and communications, but that's just like for like the lowest of the low. And like I said, Henry here, he's only 20. He's a young pup, which makes me scratch my head. How does he have 3 years worth of experience? Because that would mean he would have had to start when he was 17. And I remember being a young pup and trying to get my first job was like trying to get a root canal from somebody who only had bolt clippers. It was not a pleasant experience. It was very hard to find and get a job. But I doubt he's had 3 years worth of experience of what he does. Also from his biography, he's only been with the company since 2023. So I'm not trying to knock his age or anything. I'm just saying that there's some scuff going on. You know, some things that just don't add up. And here we go. Alright. God, we're going to try not to read any of the ads. After smashing records in its first months of release, Palworld has become more and more recognizable, with players now formulating which pals are good and which pals are bad. Tier lists, passionate Reddit posts, and fans' accounts of different pals all over social media are proof that certain pals are quickly becoming favorites while others are getting exposed as weak. It is important that players know which pal to avoid when roaming the map, as they may find themselves fighting battles and capturing pals that are essentially useless and not worth the effort whatsoever. It is key to remember that some pals might not be worth the effort of catching, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily bad. This whole thing right here contradicts itself. It only means there may be pals that are easier to catch and generally better. Oh boy, I read a little bit of this article, and I'm going to tell you, from what he writes here, it doesn't sound like he's played very much of the game at all. Or very little, because there's certain pals on this list that you can only catch in dungeons. Sure, they may pop up as a rare spawn wandering the world and then get yeeted by some dire howls. That actually happened to me in one of my encounters in one of my streams. I actually have a clip on that over on YouTube and over here on Twitch, where you basically see a group of dire howls yeet. What the hell? What the hell? What the hell was that, chat? This is why I don't like going to these things. An ad played. Freaking ad, man. Freaking ad. I have no idea where that was coming from, because this whole thing is sponsored and neutered with goddamn ads. But anyway, like I said, the Mao got yeeted up into the skyline. There's a clip of that. It's pretty funny, but the Maos you generally can only find in the dungeons. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll get there when we get there. All right, we have the Arsox. A cool design, but lacks speed. So I actually have quite a few of these guys. I've got them from eggs, but my very first one we got from a syndicate base. Working suitability is kindling level 2, lumbering level 1, rarity level 4. Rideable mounts are possible, the most valued in PALs in Palworld, with stamina easily being destroyed when running. Being able to ride a PAL makes life much easier. Although the Arsox is rideable, there are plenty of better mounts out there that are much quicker and have better attacking stats that are worth more capturing. I disagree. The first mount you get is the Chillet, which yes, he is fast, and yes, this guy is slow, but he's been my tank. He's been my bread and butter. He's got really good attacks. He does fire damage. He's got two, I don't know what the attack is called, but he basically shoots out two fire, like little tornadoes that hits multiple enemies and catches enemies on fire. He's been my bread and butter, and this guy is rideable at a fairly decent level, where other mounts that you have to get saddles and things for are higher level pals that are harder to catch at low levels. And you basically have to wait until you grind out your levels to ride them. So him and Chillet were kind of my first two options for rideable mounts. Yes, he is slower. Yes, stamina is a thing, but there's ways to recover stamina quite quickly. Also, the rule of cool is in factor 2. Do you want to ride a cute, giant ferret dragon, or do you want to be on this guy? He's actually also really good at the base, especially for mining and lumbering and cooking, which is nowhere on here. Additionally, Arson is, for some reason, a very annoying and awkward pal to capture. I've not come across him out in the wild yet. With Arnox's Fire's abilities, players will find themselves scrambling for water and rolling around often when taking on Arsox. Granted, Arsox does have a very cool design with flames all around its wolf-like body, creating a badass looking pal. However, the effort of capturing it is not worth it, not because Arsox is necessarily a bad pal, but because there are many other pals out there that are better mounts. There may be better mounts, but they're going to be higher level and harder to get. 2. This is the one I was talking about. The Mao. Style doesn't equate to worth. So something he does not point out is when you have Maos in your base, and if you have a ranch that I've read, they will drop money, and you can only get these guys usually in dungeons. There are rare forms of them that do spawn outside of the dungeons, like the Crystal Mao and stuff like that, but they're always getting attacked by dire howls. So you have to rush in to try to save them from getting yeeted into the sky. Works suitability, farming level 1, rarity 1. Unfortunately, Palworld the Mao is a very cool looking pal with the most beautiful black and gold colorway. It is not worth the effort of catching. Although Maos in the grand scheme of things are relatively easy to catch, players will notice they are not too common to stumble upon roaming the map. Like I said, that's because they spawn in dungeons. He would know that if he actually played a decent amount of the game. But the rare versions, like the Crystal Mao and some of the other Maos, like I said, can pop up outside of dungeons, but they're usually being attacked by dire howls, and you have to quickly go get them before they get football punted into the great sky. and they do drop money. So if you're having issues with money and stuff like that, having a few of these guys on your base should help you out with that. So when players eventually do stumble upon a Mao, they seem like a cool design and instantly think the POW could be strong. However, Mao stats are for working in a base pretty useless, although for the collecting skill. They have a decent attack stats, but are not enough to warrant the effort of catching one. Okay, Cinnamoth. A surprisingly formidable foe that offers little in return. Working suitability, planting level 2, medicine production level 1, rarity 4. These guys are good because they give you honey. Honey is something you'll need later on in the game once your pals start getting sick or depressed or don't want to work. You'll have to start farming in stuff to make the medicine, but these guys drop honey. Again, these guys will drop honey and stuff in your base. Cinnamoths may be pretty common to spot around the map of Palworld, however, it can be an annoying pal to defeat, with its flying ability being very frustrating to play against. Cinnamoth also possesses poison abilities that chip away at the player's health bar, making fighting one feel much more difficult than it should be. So I ran into these guys. They were a little bit hard because I was under-leveled, and I didn't have the right spheres to catch them. However, I don't think they're that too difficult to fight now that I'm higher level. This guy I can't really say anything about because I haven't ran into him in the game yet. This is the Cognito, a dark bird that does very little. I doubt he does very little. I bet he has some function in the base, or maybe he does something. I don't know. I really haven't found him. But again, like when he's talking about the Mao, you know, he says they don't pop up on the map. That's because they're in dungeons. That's where you're supposed to find them. Palworld has a habit of making some very cool designs on almost useless pals. The Cognito is no exception. This mysterious witch-looking bird is a dark POW, which immediately indicates that in base working situations it may be less useful than others. Although its damage stats, once captured, are middle of the road, it can be an annoyance to capture a Cognito due to its unusual attack style that can cause problems for players. Considering this, it makes Cognito not worth the effort of capture, as the lack of base building stats are just too low to warrant for one's player's base. He's alright, so he's good at lumbering, but he may do something else, because once you get the ranch unlocked, certain pals, like the chickpea, will lay eggs. The little lamb ball, he'll produce wool. The little candle guys, they produce fire organs. There's another one of the versions of those that produce cold organs. So he may produce something. I don't know if he'll produce eggs. I don't know. I haven't captured him, so I really can't say what he'll be good at or what he won't be good at. Lovander. A fun design, but weak. Work suitability, handiwork level 2, medicine production level 2, mining level 1, and transporting level 2. I actually really enjoy having a Lovander at my base because they will mine and they will keep working through the night. Also, with their handiwork at level 2, they can help you crank out things like arrows, ammunition. If you're working on something and you throw one of them, if you bring it into your party and you have them stationed at a workbench and you're making something, they will do it quicker than you can. Despite Lovelander being a popular PAL due to its humorous PAL deck description and number, which is 69, this PAL is unfortunately not really useful at all in comparison to many others. Lovelander only appears at night in an occasional raid, so catching one isn't too simple either. I started getting raided by Lovelander at very low levels, and they were quite easy to catch. They weren't really hard. Yes, it happened at night. That's how I got both of them, but I haven't found them out in the wild yet, so I don't know where they spawn at. But like I said, they're good pals to work through the night, just like Tombats are really good pals to work through the night, and they have quite a bit they can do. Like I said, they can It can help you build stuff. This is going to be very, very important later on when you have to make medicine and things for your pals that don't want to work or getting sick. Mining is okay. And transporting is very good. Like if you've got fields like berry fields and wheat fields and things like that, they will help take that stuff back to either the crates that you have the items separated in or feeding baskets. So that's the overall a very useful companion to have in base, and they're not too bad in combat either. Syndicate thugs, controversial and pretty useless. Controversial because you're capturing humans. I think they're actually pretty funny and they look neat. Work suitability, handiwork level 1, rarity 1. They are a bit hard to capture because they're meant to be a bit hard to capture. Yes, Palworld players can capture humans and assign them to bases. Specifically, syndicate thugs are probably the most common human enemy that players will encounter. Despite their lack of rarity, they are in fact relatively difficult to capture because it's supposed to be unethical to capture a human with a sphere created for animals, with the percentage chance of standard PAL spheres being significantly lower than most PALs. These guys, you can capture them from the memes and the jokes. There's a guy with a minigun that I think would be cool to capture, but then after I saw a video, he's very, very weak. Even at like level 23, if you capture him and you bring him back, he can't beat a Katava. Obviously, this will get easier as players progress through the game and unlock more PAL spheres. However, it is still not worth the effort to attack them enough to the point where players are able to capture the syndicate thugs. The thugs will be questionable PALs in the first place due to the fact they're literally humans and have essentially no useful stats, which means they will simply stroll around the base most of the time. Well, you can put them at a bench making stuff. Or you can capture them because you think it's funny. I mean, they're fictional. They're not real people, so I don't see the point in getting upset about somebody wanting to capture these guys just for the fun of it. I mean, if you watch any streamer, big or small, they've all captured a thug because it's funny. And then if you have enough of them, you can sell them to a black market tier for some points, or you can get rid of them by selling them to a wandering merchant or just a merchant in town. But they are pretty weak. So there's that. Woolly Pop. I haven't caught any one of these yet. I found one in a tree and it sniped me in the head and I died. A sweet pal, but a waste of time. This is where he's wrong, because these guys produce cotton candy, which is a big help. Work suitability, farming level 1, rarity 3. Probably the biggest waste of time in Palworld is spent catching Woolipops. No. So early on in the game, you don't have a whole lot of food options yet to cook to help out with hunger issues and sanity issues, but cotton candy helps with sanity a great deal. It really does. It's like one of the best items you can get early on for your pals that are working. Does it help with hunger levels very much? I don't think so. I don't know. I haven't caught one of these guys yet, but I do know from what I've read and from all the different videos I've watched, cotton candy is very, very important in both starting, and it can also be used later on as well. But it's very helpful. It's better than pancakes, I believe, and I think it's up there with the jelly jam stuff, not for hunger, but just for sanity. Where was I? Yes, the design is cute. That doesn't mean Woolly Pops are worth catching. They're especially numbered. One of the most useless pals in the game. All a Woolly Pop can do for players is drop cotton candy, which consume barely affects a player's hunger bar at all. Cotton candy is not for the human. Is not for the player. That's not for the player, my guy. That's how I know you really haven't really played this game that much, because A, you don't know that mals primarily spawn in dungeons, in Cotton Candy, if you look and read what it does, it's not for player hunger, and it's not for monster hunger. It's for sanity. Although Willy Pop doesn't require too much effort to capture, it does require players to physically attack it and throw a sphere at it, which alone is too much effort when looking at what a Willy Pop can produce, which is a grand total of nothing. Yes, this is pretty much your whole article is a grand total of nothing. I'm sorry, but this was a really bad article, Mr. Henry, because frankly, you don't know shit of what you're talking about. You might be right, maybe with him, the Cognito, but I don't know. I haven't found him in game yet. Maybe he has some cool attachment thing that you get. Maybe you can. I don't know if he's big enough to ride, but maybe he gets something like a rocket launcher or missiles or something. I don't know. I really don't know. I know the penguin guy you can build a rocket launcher, and he's a one-time use. You can shoot him. There's these other looking funny dodo guys that they shoot out explosive eggs. I just got a moss panda guy that you can put grenade launchers on him, and then I got the Relaxosaurus guy, which he also has something like missile launchers you can attach to him. So the music we are listening to right now is from the Palworld soundtrack. But Mr. Henry, you're a young pup. I doubt you have the 3 years worth of experience. I'm not trying to be mean or bully you or anything like that. I doubt you started working when you were 17. And I doubt you very much have played much of this game. Before writing more articles like this, please put the time in to the game. Make sure you know what you're getting into. Make sure you've played enough time of it, not just like 1 or 2 hours. Make sure you've read up on reviews and things like that, and tried things out for the game yourself. But I'm sorry, this was just a clickbait article. It's written kind of good, but extremely misleading, and not really worth anybody's time. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. That was a super duper short stream. I'll probably be back later to stream either some Valkyrie Elysium, or maybe we'll hop back in the Palworld and check out the new patch, because there's been 2 patches so far. I do enjoy the game. I quite like it. And I will see you people later. Until next time. Bye bye.